Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Summary. Prologue. Andarna, Violet Sorrengail's changing second dragon, talks about how different she feels when she changes color and believes she was able to alter the Venin, Dark Wielders. Violet worries that Jack Barlow, a fourth wing rider turned Venin, will reveal that Zudin Rierson is Venin, and he'll be arrested. Andarna promises to help Violet find a cure. Violet seeks to tell Imogen Cardulo, a fourth wing rider, about Zodin being Venin. Chapter 1. Violet and the others contemplate that the Venin and Wyvern may have all been killed. They visit Sawyer Henrik, a writer and executive officer who lost his leg, and discover that the Venin aren't dead. They're on the inside. Chapter 2. Violet kills a Venin dressed as a scribe and realizes they've come for Jack. More Venin are battled, and Xaden appears and kills them. He felt them calling and warns Violet not to trust him. Chapter 3. Violet participates in the Cenarium peace negotiations with 6 nobles from each province. She is assigned to a task force, led by her rider's survival course, RSC Professor Captain Grady, to find and recruit the 7th dragon breed, Andarna's breed, to kill the Venin. Violet receives a missive from Viscount Takaris of the Paromish province of Krovla, reminding her that she has 3 days to hold up her end of the bargain, training flyer cadets in exchange for the luminary. Violet and Xaden have a sexual encounter. Read my Onyx Storm Spicy Chapters review. Chapter 4. Violet and Xaden talk about thought-sharing. Brennan and Mira, Violet's siblings, arrive, and Mira gives Violet a conduit and a wooden runed practice disc for levitation, warmth, and sound shielding. Violet believes they can save the negotiations, and she can keep her deal with Tekaris. She doesn't want to tell the others, but Mira tells Brennan. Mira calculates 6 months before total collapse, but finding Andarna's kind may take decades. Chapter 5. Violet and the others await news of the negotiation from Brennan and Mira. First wing gossips. Baylor Norris, a cadet, arrives and announces, "They're here." Kat Cordella, Takaris' niece, a flyer and former lover of Xaden, attempts to challenge the cadets, which pits them against Dain Etos, Violet's lifelong friend and fourth wing leader. Aura Banehaven, a senior second wing leader, attempts to fight him, but Violet uses her daggers to make a flame erupt from Aura's hand. Chapter 6. Violet wields lightning and reminds them that they only survived the attack because Dain and the others gained access to Knowledge Navarre, the large province where Bastiath is, hid. Brennan returns from the Cenarium and says Prince Haldan Tauri, heir to the throne, is going with Violet. Further, the Cenarium agreed that all who flew for Iridia would be welcomed back with a full pardon. Andarna will not submit for an examination, and she'll be granted full access to hunt in the king's forest. Violet asks about the alliance, as without it, the deal with Tekaris would fall apart, and Llewellyn, the political representative for Tyrrendor in the Cenarium, announces it's failed. So, Violet plans treason. Xaden makes Violet promise she'll sound the alarm if he goes too far to keep safe. Xaden gets his title back as Duke of Tyrrendor, not just Aricia, the burned city that's home of Rierson House and being rebuilt after the rebellion, and a seat in the Cenarium. Chapter 7. Violet and the others visit Sawyer, who is healing from losing his leg. She tells him what Mira found about altering the material a rune is tempered into without destroying it. Violet says it's mostly iron, and Sawyer, whose signet is metallurgy, begrudgingly agrees to join their treasonous plot. Mira and Violet discuss Violet's treasonous plan. Violet knows that if the wards fall, she's on the clock to find Andarna's kind. Violet, Rhiannon Matthias, a fourth wing squad leader, Riddock Gamlin, a rider, Sawyer and Maranzina, Kat's best friend, a flyer, prepare, and Sawyer wields. It doesn't go well, but Mira believes the wards remain intact. At Battle Brief, Professor Devera, a writer, announces she's taking over for Colonel Markham, a scribe. Leadership is set as follows: Iris Drew in first wing, new character; Aura Banehaven in second wing; Lyle Sterling in third wing, new character; and Dain Etos in fourth wing. Colonel Atos, Dane's father and commanding general of Bastiath. War College after Violet's mother, Lilith's death, enters and charges Violet with treason. Chapter 8. Colonel Atos brings Violet to the Scenarium for trial. Violet confesses to being the one who orchestrated altering the Wardstone. Ironically, she did it the night before, and the king signed their pardons this morning. Queen Mariah of the Paromial Kingdom appears and announces her library is bigger than Takaras's. Colonel Atos retaliates by ordering every second year under Rhiannon to serve 2 days of duty at the outpost of Samara, a military outpost in Navarre where Paromish provinces intersect. Chapter 9. At Samara, Violet and the others learn that the fighting has ended. Lieutenant Colonel de Grency says they crossed the border and fought with their people, but the alliance isn't a popular one. Violet tries to rest but has a nightmare about a fire in which a family portrait burns, and she calls Kat the Queen of Tyrandor. The small village of Newhall, where Marin's family fled, is evacuated due to a venin attack. Violet and the others vote to stay and fight. Chapter 10. Violet and the others battle Wyvern in a tornado. Tern, Violet's black morning star tail, is injured, and Violet's knee is dislocated, so Garrick Tavis, Zodden's best friend, a second lieutenant, tries to help her. A maven, high-ranking venin named Theophany appears and says she wielded lightning and killed Marin's parents to lure them there. She threatens Violet. Chapter 11. Theophany wants Andarna. She promises if Xaden and Violet choose her as their teacher, she will give them control and knowledge. Violet questions whether Garrick has a second signet as a walker, distance wielder, as he traveled 1,000 miles in minutes, which no one has done in centuries. Xaden and Brennan angrily arrive to help Violet. Marin enters with her 2 little brothers. Colonel Atos is angry at them and orders the boys to return, but Xaden steps in and makes them Tyrish citizens. Colonel Atos orders Xaden and Garrick out of Bastiath. Violet is healed. Chapter 12. Xaden and Violet kiss, but he is apprehensive of himself and stops them there. He confirms that Garrick is a distance wielder and that Liam, a deceased rider, could wield ice. She tells him she thinks venin have signets. Xaden writes to Violet that he is resting from burnout, but Violet believes he's hiding his eyes. Professor Grady assigns Aura to Violet's quest squad. Violet and Imogen visit Jack, who looks like death. Violet offers him a medallion of alloy and powdered orange peel that can keep him alive for a week if he answers questions. Jack confirms that new venin, initiates, Assam, are not as adept at hiding themselves, so they'll be found and raised by an elder sage, or maven. Venin do not have to be taught to channel evil on their own if they're already experienced with the flow of magic. Information is given to them on a need-to-know basis. They trade some of their autonomy for access to power. There's no cure because magic does not negotiate, and they don't wish for a cure. Chapter 13. Jacinia Neilwart, Violet's friend, a scribe, is kicked out of the Adept program for failing tests. Violet tells Riddoch, Rhiannon, and Sawyer that venin may be all around them. Jacinia brings them 6 tomes for research. She learned that when the last Irid dragon hatches in advance, a cadet born from a rider and scribe, she'll get 2 signets. She also says that Grady requested tomes about Emerald Sea exploration in the north. She's missing a section about an outside isle supporting the Second Croveland Uprising, the southernmost Paromish province, in the 400s. It was assumed that Corden, Paromish city, sent soldiers. All communication was severed with most isles after they sided with Paromial in 206. In turn, they killed every emissary sent for centuries. Violet's father would have more information, and Dane would have to betray his father to get it. The new battle brief map shows lots of red, including most of Breivik, the center providence of Paromial. Professor Devra believes the map shows an assault path toward their hatching grounds. The students are given books about venin. They will also travel to Aridia for 2-week rune intensives. Devra confirms that the high-level venin can wield signets. Xaden arrives to teach, but Violet believes his position ends their relationship under the code. Chapter 14. Xaden's class is signet sparring. Violet asks Diane to get her father's research from his father's new quarters because they're warded by bloodline. Xaden seeks an exemption to date Violet, but Colonel Etos denies it. Added to the quest squad are Captain Henson, new character who is an air wielder; Lieutenant Pugh, new character with far sight; Lieutenant Foley, new character who is an agrarian; Cadet Aura Beinhaven, fire wielder; Captain Anna Winsher, infantry liaison, Halden's guard; and Lieutenant Xaden Rierson. Violet's instinct is to try south, but Grady orders them northward. Chapter 15. Xaden teaches sparring class. Chapter 16. Violet and Xaden spar. He wants her to be able to find his shadows because she's the only one capable of killing him. Violet, Sawyer, and the crew relax at a bar. Marin thanks Rhiannon because her parents took in her brothers. Violet must trust Diane to retrieve her father's research because he can't sneak anyone else in without getting caught. Chapter 17. Dane gives Violet her father's research. She reads a letter that says first love is irreplaceable. Xaden teaches sparring class, and Prince Halden enters with a missive for Violet from Viscount Takaris. He gives her tomes and offers a meeting with King Cortland of Deverelli, the southernmost Isle kingdom of the Isles, in exchange for a Melian citrine, a gem that Queen Maria offers to give him if it can be retrieved from Anka, an occupied territory beyond the wards. Violet notes that Ryder's dragons are irreplaceable. Halden apologizes to Violet, and a shadow, Xaden's signet, sends him into a wall. Chapter 18. Violet opens her father's book with the password, "I'm Sir Lilith's dragon." It's a history of the Second Crovelin Uprising. He instructs her to fly to Corden and go to Deverelli to be safe beyond the reach of magic. She should seek the merchant Norel Anselm with the rarest item she has and beware of the King of Navarre. Taryn is confused because there is no magic beyond the continent. Violet admits to Xaden that she once loved Halden, and he is mad, but they kiss and talk about retrieving the artifact. Chapter 19. Violet's quest squad now includes Mira, and they cross the border at Samara. They leave Andarna there for safety. Anka is not occupied. They stop at home of Amelia, first of the drifts. Aura wields fire and ignites Captain Grady, who she thought was Venin. He dies, and the house is on fire. A wyvern kills Aura. Scale, Xaden's dragon, kills the wyvern, and Violet wields lightning on its partner. Mira reveals she has the stone, along with a letter for Violet from Theophany, reminding her that she can be taken against her will. Theophany must know Violet is looking for Andarna's kind or a cure. Chapter 20. Violet reads books on Deverelli. Jack tells Violet about a seam progression and how channeling from the heart is as easy as breathing beyond the wards. Rydok, an ice wielder, shares that he's learned to freeze water in an orange and thinks he can do the same to a person. Captain Jarrett, a rider, is added to the task force. The meeting is set with King Cortland. The command is transferred to Captain Henson, and Lieutenant Pugh is the executive officer. Markham and Melgren, Navarian military general, will search Aridia. Violent is angry and negotiates her own quest squad. Lieutenant Xaden Rierson, Lieutenant Mira Sorengale, Cadet Riddock Gamlin, Cadet Kat Cordella, Captain Drake Cordella, Kat's cousin, a flyer, Cadet Diane Ados, Prince Halden, and his favorite guard, Anna Winsher. Duchess Moraine, a member of the Cenarium, reveals her daughter has proposed to Xaden. Chapter 21. Violet's squad arrives at King Tekaris's palace. She rooms with Xaden, who reads her thoughts, making her wonder if his second signet, Intinsec, is growing. They head to Deverelli, and the Onyx bond with Skyle and Xaden is broken. Chapter 22. They arrive and are disoriented by their lack of magic. Only Violet can still speak with her dragons. Chapter 23. The group heads into the town bookstore where Mira is attacked and a battle ensues. They meet Norel, the shopkeeper's mother, who recognizes Violet as Asher Daxton's daughter. He's also known as Asher Sorengale. Chapter 24. Norel apologizes for her family's protection of the books. She questions them to earn Asher's manuscript. They tell her they believe the Crowvlan uprising fell apart because Crowvla didn't keep their part of the deal. Deverelli withdrew their brokerage to provide feather-tailed dragons, and then the troops of the other isles withdrew and told the Paromish king Regent where to find the rebels. Violet tells Dain his father must know the book is about feather-tails. Violet admits to Narelle that she left Halden because she caught him having sex with a professor. Narelle gives them Asher's 6 tomes. Xaden kisses Violet. Chapter 25. Xaden and Violet have sex. The group learns that King Cortlin has decided to keep Halden, and Tecarus calls for Xaden to speak with him. Chapter 26. Xaden takes Violet with him. Halden says he re-established diplomacy with Deverelli and asked to use Tecarus's manor for a search mission with dragons in exchange for the blade of Orisha, which wasn't his to give. Cortlin stabs Halden's hand and makes it clear he knew Xaden's father. Xaden seeks him as an ally and will openly trade, but Cortlin prefers to supply those at war. Violet wonders if they defeated or cured Venin. Cortlin serves Captain Anna Winsher's head to his panthers after she colluded to steal with Halden. Xaden attempts to bargain and flashes an emerald-studded hilt. Cortlin orders all but Tecarus dead. Chapter 27. 12 guards attack Xaden, and he kills them all, revealing red around his eyes to Violet. Andarna enters and grabs Cortlin's panther, so he agrees to their terms for the panther's release. Violet gives him Andarna's shell for Halden's crimes. He asks if they will start searching at Unbriel, the closest main isle. Chapter 28, and at Battle Brief, Violet shares that Cortlin also wanted to trade for her, which is odd since they don't have magic. The map shows southward movement, which leads Violet to believe the Venin know the Aretian wards are up and are moving into position for when they fall. Mira has taken personal leave. The first years seek to help Violet, and they all become concerned about the length of time the search will take. They must disobey direct orders and not report or return until they find Andarna's kind. Xaden's eyes are still amber, and Bodhi, Xaden's cousin, hands him vials of serum and antidote. A second year turned Venin on the mat, and Professor Carr kills her. Bodhi asks Violet to take Garrick. Chapter 29. Xaden's eyes are still amber. Traeger, a flyer, and Marin are added to the squad. Auric, also known as Cam, King Towie's missing son who secretly became a rider, decides to join them because he doesn't trust his brother, and Halden is shocked to see him. Mira confirms some runes work off the continent. They arrive at Unbriel, the Isle of Dun, goddess of war. But Violet doesn't think Andarna's kind settled there due to the lack of magic. Mira reveals she visited their estranged paternal grandmother, Niara. Violet wonders why her father's books have so much information about flora and fauna. A soldier scares Violet and Xaden. Chapter 30. They must defeat the best in combat to earn entrance to the court. Violet brings Xaden, Auric, Cat, and Dian. Tarn notices a claw in their symbol. Their temple has warfare symbols: sword, shield, fire, water, claw, and book. The attendants have silver hair like Violet's. Chapter 31. Auric wants to fight, but Xaden steps in, suggesting he should consider it revenge for what he did to Auric's brother. Xaden killed Alec, brother of Auric and Halden. Their temple goddess of war picks Dane and Violet to fight too. Chapter 32. Xaden and Violet win their matches, but wonder where the lighting during them came from. Violet learns her opponent was Queen Marlis. She says there haven't been dragons there for centuries, and she's unwilling to be an ally unless they receive dragons in return. Chapter 33. The queen seeks 12 dragon eggs because the fully grown dragons are too headstrong and arrogant. They travel to Vidaris, the capital of Hedidus, Isle of Hedion, the god of wisdom. They meet the second of the triumvirate, Faris and his wife Talia, who is Xaden's mom. Chapter 34. Xaden agrees to have dinner with his mother and learns he has 2 young stepbrothers. Violet gives Talia fried arrowroot. Chapter 35. The quest squad has dinner with Xaden's mom and the triumvirate, Faris, Nairi, and Roslyn. Talia suggests a contract marriage between Xaden and Cat would be beneficial, which angers Xaden and Violet. Violet realizes their dessert is poisoned, but it's too late for Garrick. who collapses. Chapter 36. Violet reveals to the triumvirate that she has also poisoned them with arrowroot, and they will die within the hour. She attempts to bargain her antidote for theirs. A battle ensues in the kitchen with the cook, who stabs Riddoch. Chapter 37. It turns out only Riddoch's jacket was stabbed. Violet figures out the poison and antidote, using her father's book to save Garrick. She cleverly bargains their free release and an alliance in exchange for her antidote to save the triumvirate. They leave and fly to Zahilna, the Isle of Zichnal, the god of luck. They are outnumbered, but the residents seem happy to see them, and Violet feels magic. Chapter 38. They meet Calixta, the mistress of festivities, awaiting their arrival for an alliance, having been told by King Cortland of Deverelli. They must play a game of cards to see the queen. Each card reveals a gift. Mira gets wine, Marin gets 2 orange tunics, Dine gets a slap in the face, Arik gets a fractured hand mirror, Garrick gets a rusted steel bucket, Xaden gets an empty glass box, Violet gets a broken compass, Riddoch gets a kiss, Cat gets a gold and ruby necklace, Drake gets a kitten, and Traeger gets an arrow to the heart, killing him. Chapter 39. Silarain, Traeger's griffin, dies with him. The group agrees to go to Losiam, a small isle of Loyal, the god of love, to burn their bodies. Xaden admits he doesn't believe he can be cured. Chapter 40. There are hundreds of small islands to search, so they split into groups. Violet can still see amber in Xaden's eyes. Violet stays behind while the fire burns and comes upon a shimmering, sky-blue dragon. She sees 6 dragons of varying sail tones on the beach. Irid feeder-tail dragons. A dragon says hello to her, though they aren't bonded. Chapter 41. Andarna's scales change from black to green, then blue. The dragons are all feather-tails interested in talking to Andarna. The dragons tell Andarna that Violet failed her by using her power as an instrument of warfare. Andarna has not developed for this reason. Their breed is meant for peace. Chapter 42. The dragons are concerned they seek victory, not peace. Andarna says that peace requires the Iridian wardstone, which can't be fired without the Irids. The dragons say there is no cure for dark wielders. Andarna begins shifting to gold. Riddoch realizes Xaden is Venin. Chapter 43. Violet explains Xaden's Venin stage to Riddoch. She reminds him that Xaden saved them by killing the Dark Wielder's sage, which gave her mom time to imbue the wardstone. Riddoch seeks more reassurance, and Violet says that if Xaden hurts her, she'll know he's not himself anymore. He wants Violet to tell Sawyer, Rhiannon, and Jacinia in exchange for keeping the secret. They all fly back to Bastiath, where Colonel Atos says he will punish them. Violet gets a letter from Theophany indicating that she saw them flying. They learn Sunniva fell to dark wielders, and Queen Maria is dead. Tecarus is next in line for the throne. Chapter 44. The quest squad isn't punished because King Tauri is so happy to have his missing son Arik back. At Battle Brief, they learn that the dark wielders have done much damage in their absence. They debate where to place their 40,000 troops from Zahilna. Professor Devera shares that dark wielders fell from the sky in Sunniva and started a fire. The Venin stole their alloy-hilted daggers, which had just been shipped there. It's believed there are traitors in their ranks who conveyed this information. The Venin flew in a thundercloud, and Violet realized Theophany must have been with them as a lightning wielder and a maven. Violet can kill them with lightning if she isn't seen. They debate using Sawyer's dragon Sliceag for help. Violet keeps her end of the bargain and tells Sawyer, Rhiannon, and Jacinia that Xaden is turning Venin. Chapter 45. They practice battle mount maneuvers, dismounting and a running landing, wielding and taking to the sky. Violet gives Xaden a black onyx metal wrist cuff with a piece of the turret on top of Rierson House for his birthday. Felix, a former dragon rider who's a member of the Revolution and the Assembly, says 2 wyvern came through the wards at Aridia. They're failing. Chapter 46. Andarna continues to hide. There is debate about opening the borders to Paromish citizens willing to climb the Madaro Pass on the border of Tirandor and Paromial. which Xaden wants. However, Prince Haldan threatens to take his troops to Tyrrendor. Xaden's eyes remain amber. Wyvern have been trying to fly into Orisha. Lynx, a fourth wing cadet, starts shaking and manifesting shadows, so Xaden isn't the only shadow wielder anymore. Lynx is the balance. Xaden resigns from being a professor due to his absence. He leaves because Tyrrendor needs him. Chapter 47. Sawyer gets Violet's help mounting his dragon, Slyseg, with a level he fashioned on his prosthetic leg, and it works. The quest squad flies to Iridia, where Brennan tells Violet he's struggling to mend Xaden. Chapter 48. Xaden arrives, kisses Violet, and tells her he thinks he's slowing the progression of his dark side. Chapter 49. Xaden and Violet have sex. Chapter 50. Violet has her recurring nightmare about the sage, but this time she thinks about channeling from the earth, and her hand looks like Xaden's, with a relic. Xaden's had the same dreams and believes Violet's second signet is dreamwalking. It's a form of Intinsic more powerful than Xaden's because he can only read someone while they're awake and is limited by their ability to shield. They confirm Violet entered Marin's worst nightmare, the family portrait. They are under attack. Chapter 51. Greenfire Wyvern are on their way, traveling in smaller pairings. Violet moves past the wards, and Andarna protects the wardstone. Some Wyvern are killed. Tarn is in pain. Chapter 52. The Wyvern's wing spur broke off in Tarn's leg. The prince orders Andarna to protect Dun's temple. Violet attempts to remove the wing spur, but Wyvern approach. She believes that if the Wyvern is this close without being halted by the wards, they will skip over the undrained territory of Krovla and go for the hatching ground. Theophany approaches, and Violet realizes she was a high priestess of Dun. A dark wielder vanishes like Garrick. Wyvern fall from the sky, and Xaden appears. There is no red in his eyes. He says the wards went up. The Irids arrive. Chapter 53. The Irid dragon Leothan tells Andarna he powered the wards to keep Violet safe and take Andarna back with him. Eventually, Andarna agrees and leaves. Chapter 54. Violet mourns the loss of Andarna. Mira and Brennan argue over the missing months in their mother's journal, when she left them with their grandmother, Niara, who stopped speaking to them afterward. Mira believes her parents dedicated Violet to Dun during that time, and Violet recalls the Unbrish High Priestess telling her it was good her dedication was not complete. They wouldn't take Violet because her path wasn't certain. The priestess said if Violet chose poorly, she could earn their mentorship, but she'd have to turn. Violet realizes her dad took her there. Mira says the priestess predicted she'd turn dark, and Xaden steps in and admits he has turned Venin, not Violet. Mira becomes angry. Chapter 55. Navarre may declare war on Tyrrendor for defying the Cenarium. Violet struggles with runes without Andarna. Bodhi wants to drop out of school, but Xaden won't allow it. Bodhi says he intends to be Xaden's right-hand man for the rest of their lives. Xaden cuts them off from shipments of Palladium. Chapter 56. Violet is in Xaden's dream with the sage. It's the first time she knows it's his dream. Garrick returns from patrol injured by Theophany. She said they reached Drathus and the coastal Paromish city bordering Tyrrendor to bring Bodhi, and Violet or Mira will die. Chapter 57. They debate what to do and realize Theophany wants Jack, not Bodhi. Violet must choose one objective for the mission, and she chooses to kill Theophany. Brennan reminds her she can't save everyone or stray from orders. Chapter 58. In Drathus, the Wyvern outnumber them. Tane is chained, and Theophany is holding knives to Mira. Garrick brings Jack. Theophany slits Mira's throat. Chapter 59. Dragons and riders arrive, including Sloane and Dane. Brennan struggles to mend Mira. Sloane attempts to transfer power from Dane to Brennan. Mira survives. Sloane leaves a package from Auric, which appears to be Auric's mail. They all leave except Bodhi and Violet. Chapter 60. Tarn must try to remove Mira's dragon, Tane. Theophany returns to battle Violet. Violet realizes Theophany isn't a lightning wielder, but a storm wielder like her mother. Bodhi believes his signet. Countering signets can help, but Quir, his dragon, grabs him and takes him away. Violet fights Theophany, Chapter 61. Rhiannon's point of view. Rhiannon inspects the Madaro Pass. Marin, Kat, Sawyer, Neve, a flyer, Riddock, and Bragan, a flyer, are with her. They fight Wyvern, and she orders a shield formation for the strength of the squad. Chapter 62. Theophany's dagger scrapes Violet's throat. Violet breaks her nose and gains control. Theophany says that to survive in their world, you must protect your magic. She says that occupying ground where magic has been repurposed creates a barrier. You must drain it yourself. Violet must do so before Theophany gets there, or she'll die. Violet races to a wyvern for a barrier, and Scale lifts her and then drops her to Tern. Theophany is on the battlefield with Venin and Wyvern. Violet and Tern decide to attack. Violet wields lightning. A tornado strikes. Eric's dragon, Mulvik, brings 1,000 soldiers and their horses from Zahilna. Violet continues to fly for Theophany. Chapter 63. Imogen's point of view. Imogen and her dragon, Glain, kill several wyvern. Dark wielders head for the turret where Quinn, a fourth wing rider and best friend of Imogen, is. Imogen descends and heads that way. Dane joins her. Fire erupts. Imogen turns her shield to stone and the fire parts around them. Dane fights the Venin on the wall, and Imogen heads to the turret. Quinn projects herself to the Venin, and the real Quinn approaches from the stairs below. Imogen and Quinn kill the Venin with daggers to the chest. However, the Venin has stabbed Quinn near the heart, and she dies. Garrick says Imogen must go because the dark wielders are at the walls draining the stone, and he tries to find something to do. Imogen also sees Bodhi retching. Chapter 64. Violet's point of view. Violet's conduit shatters. Theophany slows the storm to make it harder for Violet to wield. Tern and Violet get caught in a net and fall. Violet discovers a marble dagger in Aric's package. It was a gift from the High Priestess's Temple of Dun in Aridia. Theophany approaches. Xaden sends powerful shadows, and Tern says to use the darkness. Violet realizes Aric's signet is precognition. Violet uses the marble to wield lightning and hits Theophany. Andarna appears, distracting Theophany, and Violet kills her with the marble dagger. Stone doesn't kill Venin, but she was never just Venin as a high priestess. And Dun is wrathful. Chapter 65. Xaden's point of view. Scale is wounded. Panchek, commandant at Basquiath, is a Venin, so Xaden can't kill him or Berwin, his sage Venin. Panchek is the traitor from within. Another person close to Xaden is there, having turned Venin. Berwin kills the dragon with his dagger and threatens Scale. Xaden wields dark shadows to kill Venin guards and knock Berwin and Panchek unconscious. Xaden's soul departs and he becomes the ice, killing Wyvern across the city. He clings to his love for Violet, but he's no longer an initiate. His eyes have red veins. Scale conveys that the wards are completed but extend no further than Drathos. Chapter 66. Violet's point of view. At Reardon House, an officer tells Brennan that 4 riders, their dragons, and 3 elders were killed in the valley. 4 riders, including Garrick Tavis, and 6 eggs from the hatching ground are missing. Xaden is presumed responsible. Violet is disoriented. There is an emerald ring on her finger. She married Xaden but doesn't recall it because she asked Imogen to use her signet to wipe her memories. Xaden left a note telling her not to look for him. It's hers now, implying, but not confirming, she now rules Tyrrendor. Recap of the top spoilers from the Onyx Storm summary. Xaden becomes Duke of Tyrrendor. There is no cure for being Venin. Violet's second signet is dream walking, a form of Intinsic. Andarna's kind, Irids, or iridescents, are found in Zahilna, but they are peacemakers unhappy with her being used like a weapon in war. For a time, Andarna breaks her bond with Violet and leaves with the Irids, but she later returns. Xaden's mom is married to one of the triumvirate on the Isle of Wisdom, Hedotus. Violet's dad started to dedicate her to Dun when she was young to help her health, but the High Priestess stopped because she foresaw Violet's future path with Xaden being Venin was unclear. The most shocking death is Quinn. Other deaths include Marin's parents, Captain Grady, Aura, Anna Winsher, Traeger, Silaraine, and Queen Maria, armed with a gift from Auric, who has precognition. Violet kills Theophany, a powerful Venin called a Maven, a storm wielder, who was once a high priestess and has silver hair like Violet. Commandant Panchek is Venin, and he was the traitor leaking information from the inside. Berwyn, Xaden's sage Venin, has also turned someone close to Xaden Venin. Clues point to Bodhi or Garrick. Xaden channels dark magic to protect Skyail, which progresses his stage of Venin and causes others to die or go missing, including some dragon eggs. Violet has married Xaden but doesn't recall it because she asked Imogen to wipe her memories. Xaden tells Violet not to look for him, and it's hers now, implying she now rules Tyrrendor. Thank you for listening to this summarized version of Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. If you like this summary, and for more content like this, please comment, like, and subscribe to our channel.